and it will be powered by Google. Now, we knew this was coming. This was a rumor for a while. We've talked about it in the past. Apple continued for the last couple of months to just spin their wheels, and Siri continued to suck. I made a video about 9 months ago about the state of Apple's AI crisis, basically, and not a whole lot has changed since then. You should go watch that video. It's linked below. It's basically a much more in-depth, detailed analysis of all of Apple's AI stuff. But this update, this headline, is basically now Apple and Google putting out statements confirming the hilarious news that Apple hasn't finally figured out AI. They will be partnering with a company who has figured out AI. So here's the official quote from Apple. After careful evaluation, we've determined that Google's technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple foundation models, and we're excited about the innovative new experiences it will unlock for our users. Pretty classic vanilla statement from Apple, but this is still really interesting for a couple of reasons. I have questions that don't have answers yet that we probably won't get the answers to until Apple's WWDC event in June, which is likely when they'll formally announce this new revamped Siri again. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But also just, wow, this is a pretty big news story just because it is a $4 trillion tech company that everyone assumes is on the bleeding edge of all this stuff, and we're waiting for them to get it together and finally jump in the AI race. And now this feels like the headline that we can all point to say, okay, yeah, they're losing the AI race. And honestly, I don't blame them. It's hard to tell if that's exactly what's happened at this very moment, but that's how it feels. But you know what? If you're Apple and you've been spinning your wheels this entire time, working on Siri, but Siri's just been bad this whole time, and it's famously taken you longer than you thought to deliver the features from the ads you had to delete, then this move makes perfect sense, as hilarious as it is. Like, this is not the first time Google and Apple have worked together. Famously, Google's paid Apple billions of dollars over the years to be the default search engine in Safari. Obviously, Apple doesn't make a search engine, but their users use search engines and need one. So they made a partnership to bring them the best one available. There's some arguments, obviously, and some antitrust stuff in the background, but basically to deliver the best one available to their users. Now, in this case, it's probably Apple paying Google. I mean, we don't know the terms of the deal. There's been some rumors floating out there, but it's kind of along the same lines otherwise. Like, okay, Siri exists, but it's really bad, and they want to give their users the best experience. They've worked on it really hard. They couldn't get it up to a level to compete. So a partnership was the right answer, and it was just a judgment call to use Google's models as a foundation. Now, this is news to a lot of people because of them choosing Google for these models instead of any of the other competitors, say ChatGPT or OpenAI's models. To me, it's most interesting because they recently made a big partnership with OpenAI. Siri, as you know now, will kick out to ChatGPT for any complex request that is too much for Siri to handle, stuff that needs world knowledge or has a multi-step request or whatever it is. But assuming this new Google Foundation beefs up Siri and will allow it to do all this stuff on its own, it won't need to kick out to ChatGPT anymore. So what happens to that OpenAI partnership? I don't know. Anyway, now the promise is officially official. Again, they will be coming out at some point during 2026 with the big Siri update powered by Google's models. And it'll be interesting to see them. I assume this is going to happen at WWDC 2026, which is, I think now that's 2 years after they originally announced the big Siri update. But here's what's on my mind now. One, how good will this partnership make the new Siri actually? I tend to think pretty good. I think Gemini on Android phones is already really good. They've looped in now a lot of the old Google Assistant features. So Gemini as a product is really good. The models are really good. Google asserts it's the best. You know, it's kind of like this. There's always, GPT and Claude, Anthropic, all that stuff. But I'd say it's comfortably top 3. But then 2, how much will Apple be building on top of these foundation models? The foundation models give Siri a better, deeper understanding of what you're asking and better smarts and all of that. But then there's all the stuff that Apple would like to do on top of that. But when they customize it and add features and capabilities of their own, there's no doubt there will be a big privacy focus. There always is with Apple. And when they added the ChatGPT integration, where it actually kicked out to ChatGPT to get stuff back, they did a lot of work to preserve user privacy in that. Using the Google Foundation models does not inherently mean it's going to be kicking stuff out to Google. It's got the models on the device. But still, it'll be interesting to see how they customize, the functionality on top of what Google stuff will do. Like, remember that weird kind of half circle to search that's built into Apple Intelligence on the iPhone, where you take a screenshot and then highlight what you want, and then it lets you just basically Google image search whatever you circled? What if the iPhone gets full-on real Android-grade circle to search now? Circle to search is one of the absolute most useful AI features to me of the entire last 5+ years, where you can circle whatever's on your screen, search text, or circle an image to get a search for that image, or get more info on locations or a sign you took a picture of or whatever else. If all of that is potentially coming to the iPhone, that would be a pretty nice outcome of this deal. But then my final thought is, all these headlines are obviously hilarious with like, oh, Apple's such a rich, powerful company and they can't somehow get their AI stuff together, so they're going to partner with another company to do it. Fine. But it's also popped this thought into my head that maybe who owns the models is not as important as who controls the interface. Like, for example, I use a tool that I've talked about in the past actually on my Mac called Raycast, and it's awesome. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically like a Spotlight search replacement for Mac, because Spotlight has also been dog water for years. So it replaces Spotlight search for me, lets me find files, and also do translations and conversions and window management and all this stuff. And they recently added a feature which also lets you chat with an AI model if you need to answer a quick question for you. And inside of the Raycast settings, there's actually a drop-down slider. This is the Pro version, but there's literally a slider that lets you pick any of these AI models to chat with anytime you need to use an LLM as a tool. Could be ChatGPT, any of these models. Could be Gemini. Could be Grok if you're into that. Could be anything. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't really matter which model I'm choosing to use. I'm just picking the one that I think works best for me. But the interface that I use to interact with that is still Raycast. So Raycast gets the user because they're delivering the experiences and function that I need. Apple is going to do this deal because it keeps the user on the iPhone. And so if built-in AI tools and LLMs was really one of the reasons you were actually going to leave the iPhone, you were going to switch to Android, to a Pixel or Samsung phone or whatever it is, this move is specifically to make sure that that is no longer one of the reasons that you would switch. The fact that they can get as many of those features and experiences as possible to match with what's happening on Android phones is hopefully to Apple a win for them. And then they get the PR boost of, oh, Siri's good again, hopefully. I am curious though, for y'all watching this, you people who are subscribed to a tech channel on YouTube and watching a new video about Gemini and Siri, how much do these LLMs actually matter to you when making a tech purchase for yourself, like your next phone? Is this something you actually will make a choice based on? Let me know. I'm curious about that in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.